Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Every time I say it, it's going to suck even more.
May I present to you the cat?
I am Medela. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Yay!
And we're here to talk about all things tech for the past 2 weeks. Since, last week we weren't here. It wasn't very much, but...
No, there wasn't.
We got a few things we want to talk about. First thing, we're going to talk a little bit about Apple. We're going to talk about the Mac Mini storage, and it's removed.
Yeah. So, Mac Mini, a couple of weeks ago, listener, we talked about how the Mac Mini had been drastically revised and how I was pretty stoked about it in general. And then people started getting it and did some teardowns, and turns out, in fact, that the storage is removable. Like, it's not soldered onto the main board. And
just in case you want a computer with no storage, right?
Yes, that's exactly the idea here. Now, I worded that specifically, listener. I said it is removable, not it is upgradable. Now, this is not the first time we have seen this. It's on the Mac Pro. It's on the Mac Studio. And with both of those devices, we have demonstrated that it is, in fact, possible to take these little storage modules that look like one of the little tiny nubby SSDs, an NVMe SSD, but it is not. It is keyed differently, and it is on a proprietary connection. And that's because these aren't actually SSDs. They just aren't. You're not going to be able to buy this thing and upgrade the storage with a commodity SSD from Amazon or something like that. What this means is that you can replace the storage, if the storage goes bad, with storage made for Apple computers, right? It's a proprietary thing. It's, in fact, the controller for the NAND flash that is on these little daughter boards isn't even on the board. It's baked into the M series system on a chip. Like, it's not, there's nothing, it can't be used by any PCs. You can't use anything from a normal PC in this slot. So no, it's still not really like a good guy Apple thing from the perspective of being able to upgrade your storage after the fact. I do think that it is technically possible to buy a larger module and put it in there and upgrade the storage after the fact, but the module you would be buying, you'd have to be getting from Apple anyways. Now, that's not to say that somebody won't release something that, reverse engineers Apple's connections and whatnot and is compatible with this slot at some point, but you're certainly not going to be paying anything like normal SSD prices for it. It's going to be way overpriced still, but it might be better than what Apple is charging for. And it does kind of open up the possibility that if you currently don't have enough money to pay for a storage upgrade for your Mac Mini, you could buy the base model now with 256 gigs of storage and then upgrade later by buying a part from Apple via their repair program. Hopefully, they haven't actually added this to their repair program yet, but hopefully they will soon, and you'll be able to buy a part from Apple, stick it in there. You'd have to use a different Mac in order to initialize the storage, which is still a thing that exists and is still obnoxious. But if you have two Macs, then there's a possibility you'll be able to upgrade the storage for this thing at some point in the future, but you'll still be paying Apple's obnoxious prices. So that's not necessarily all great stuff, but it could be worse.
So here's my question on that. Say you have, you bought a Mac Mini, Mac Studio, I guess, because it was on the Studio and the Pro previously. So you bought a Mac Studio with a lot of storage on it for some weird reason, And then you decided you wanted to buy a Mac Mini because it's just as powerful as the Mac Studio that you currently have, or actually more powerful because M4. Could you get away with buying the base model Mac Mini, maybe the M4 Pro because you want the better chip, and
Right.
take the storage from your Studio and put it into the Mac Mini?
It is possible that you would be able to reuse the module. I don't think you would be able to take the module, stick it into the Mac Mini, and then just boot the thing up. I suspect that the change of platform and change of hardware and all that stuff is going to make the OS have a conniption.
Yeah.
Like Apple's Mac OS is not designed for that kind of movement of hardware the way that Windows and Linux, they can handle that kind of thing. I don't think Mac OS can. And I think that's deliberate. I think Apple does that in order to lock down the hardware to a certain extent. But I do think you probably would be able to reuse the modules from the Mac Studio. The only hiccup there is that if you had like 8 terabytes of storage in the Mac Studio, the most you'd be able to reuse with your Mac Mini would be 4 terabytes because the Mac Studio had 2 of these slots. Mac Mini has 1. So, and same thing with the Mac Pro. It has 2 slots. Mac Mini has 1. So anything above the base storage configurations for the Mac Studio or the Mac Pro includes 2 of these modules. And so you'd only be getting half of the storage if you were to swap that into the Mac Mini. So, but I do think that otherwise it's probably pretty much the same because these daughter boards are really just, it's NAND flash with like some power management circuitry on the board. And that's it. All of the smarts to manage the storage and everything like that live on the CPU. So, yeah, this is not a huge win for upgradability, listener. It's possible that you'll be able to upgrade using this at some point in the future, but that's not why this is noteworthy. Mostly it's noteworthy because Apple is basically making it so that if your storage craps out, that doesn't mean the computer is a brick now.
Yeah.
You can replace it, and that's nice. So it's a small win, but it is a win. I'll take it.
Yes.
Deal. All right. Next thing, Gemini app is now available.
Yes, listener, in case you are the very rare person that has an iPhone and has been clamoring to have Gemini on your device as a standalone app, because in reality, you've kind of had Gemini on there anyways. If you download the Google app, Gemini is available through the Google app on iOS, but now there is a standalone Gemini app similar to the standalone ChatGPT app or whatever large language model you previously wanted on your phone that you could have. It's now there. I did download it. I've played around with it a little bit. It's what you would expect it to be. It does a little more than what Gemini does on the Google app, whereas like this one has the conversational AI, so you can just talk to it if you feel like, that's a feature on the standalone app that was not available inside the Google app. That's basically the only added feature to it, I guess. So if that's really, really what you want is be able to talk to your AI for some strange reason, then
There you go.
you can download the Gemini app and have that available. It does have, like I said, it's basically what Gemini was on the Google app, but the main thing I've used it for is the main thing I use any AI for. Creating interesting images, because it does have that image generator on it. So there's that.
True.
But there you go. If you weren't already aware and you want to try it out, you can now download the Gemini app from the App Store on your iPhone.
Nice. All right. Next thing on here, the RCS update we've all been waiting for.
Yes, listener. I know we always talk about how RCS is so nice to have because you can send high-quality images to Android users, or they can send it to you as an iOS user, but the real reason everyone actually wanted RCS was emoji reactions. Right?
That's definitely what
There it
was.
is. That's what we've been waiting for.
Because in iOS 18.1, you can now receive emoji reactions from Android users, and they will show up like emoji reactions are supposed to show up, just as a little bubble attached to the message that the person was reacting to. Whereas before, it would send an additional message saying so-and-so reacted to this message with this emoji, and it was really annoying. So that's now been fixed. Now, I don't know if it's because Apple updated the version of RCS they're using. They were in iOS 18. It was using RCS version 2.4. And it's RCS version 2.7 that has this feature in it. So either Apple upgraded iPhones to that new version of RCS, or Google made some back-end changes to how it sends reactions to iOS, which is something they have done in the past. So it could be either one of those feature or things that happen to make this feature available. But if you are on iOS 18.1, you should receive emoji reactions the way that it's supposed to look from Android users. So there you go. This, like I said, this is really what people wanted RCS for. In all actuality, it wasn't the high quality images or the read receipts or any of that stuff. No, emoji reactions.
That's what we were wanting right there. All right, let's go ahead and we'll move on there. We got some Google news here. Looks like some new Google Map features to keep you sane during the holidays and beyond.
Yes. Google is, they've been leading the way when it comes to map apps for a long time, but they're just making their default Maps app pretty good and even better. So the main thing when it comes to the holiday type of thing is the ability to search for products inside of Google Maps, and it will tell you where these products are in stock in stores around you. And that is really kind of cool. So you don't have to go to individual stores' websites or apps and search for it there. You can just search inside of Google Maps, and it will give you the stores that are close to you that have that product. I really like that. I think it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that is cool.
And where I've read is it doesn't really it can go pretty much any product that you want to search for. Is if a store has it around you, you can search for it inside of Google Maps. Kind of cool. They are now adding what they call immersive view. This is basically I don't know if it's AI generated, but it kind of looks AI generated view of your how you're going to be traveling along your route, and it even simulates traffic with cars and stuff, and then shows you kind of where you need to go. So this is something that you want to use before you drive somewhere, and it'll give you different real, quote unquote real life images of what you should be seeing along your route, which can be helpful if it's a new area and you don't just have to rely on where it says you are. You can actually see buildings around you or different things like that. So that's kind of nice. They are also adding the ability to add road condition reports a little easier, more tools, basically kind of similar to what they have in the Waze app, because Waze has had this type of stuff in it for a while, and Google owns Waze, listener, if you didn't know that. It's kind of, it's interesting. Waze is kind of like Google Maps beta in a way. They usually test out features inside of Waze, and then eventually it'll be brought into the main Google Maps app, which is interesting, but Google's going to Google. But they're just easier reporting tools for road conditions, if there's traffic, if there's construction, different things like that. So that's nice. And this feature I thought was really kind of cool. They're adding trailer-friendly routes. So the way this works is if you are someone that is pulling a trailer either behind a pickup truck or a semi, you can add the dimensions of your trailer in, and it will give you routes that make it so it's easier for you to get to where you're going. So say there's a bridge that either is a covered bridge or it's a narrow bridge. Like if your trailer's not going to fit through there very easily, it will not take you that direction. Or like a tunnel, or if there's like a toll booth of some sort that has a height limit or something like that, it'll keep you out of the way of those type of things. I really like that. It's not something that a lot of people are going to need to utilize on a regular basis, but for those that do need something like that, I think it'll be extremely helpful.
Yeah. No, I might actually end up using that like next summer. I have a bus that we drive places for like camping and stuff like that, and it would be, generally speaking, where we live out here in the West, it goes everywhere, you know, basically as long as I have the ground clearance to get there, then I'm good. But you know, just it's nice to have the extra reassurance that I'm not going to run across the low bridge or something like that. Yeah,
it's definitely, I think it'll be a very nice thing. Especially, and like you said, in the spring or summer when people start to go camping more often again, you know, if you're hauling a camping trailer, this would definitely be a nice feature to have, especially if you're going any sort of long distance or a place that you're not as familiar with. It'll be nice. And then the thing everybody has wanted inside of Google Maps, Gemini, is now built into Google Maps. Now, the main thing that is the actual beneficial thing here for having Gemini built in is it can understand you in normal speak. Like you don't have to say, like if you're talking to Google Maps rather than typing something in, you can just ask it questions like you would ask a person, kind of how regular AI will respond to those type of things. So that's the main benefit here. You don't have to say certain phrases or things like that to have it understand you. It'll understand more common phrase type things easier. So like one thing you like, if you're looking at a location, like a restaurant or something like that, you could say, does this place have free parking? And it'll answer you accordingly. That is kind of nice. So that's the main thing that I think you would probably want to use Gemini for in this. It's basically like Gemini is just replacing what Google Assistant was in a lot of these type of things. I don't think there's going to be like AI, like generative AI inside of Google Maps. Hopefully, that'd be really weird. I'm not going to put it past Google, but
I feel like if you can't have the thing just, I don't know, hallucinate random additions to the directions it's giving you and as it's navigating for you, then is it really AI? Like
that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, that's all the new Google Maps features that Google has added this past week. I think a lot of really helpful things, and then Gemini.
That's how it is. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Looks like we got some general tech news. Got Amazon Haul.
Man, I just have to keep talking, huh?
All right. Do it. Finish it.
This is basically my last piece of news, so I will shut up after this. Sorry, listeners. If you're annoyed with my voice, that's just too dang bad for a minute. So Amazon, just because they have to compete with more things, I suppose, they've created this new, I don't know if there's an app. I haven't looked into this that much. I just barely learned about it today. It's called Amazon Haul. It's basically there to compete with your budget-friendly places like Temu or, Wish, like those type of places. Like it says that they offer a wide range of products for $20 or less, and some items as low as $1. And then they're saying promises up to 2 weeks delivery, so supposedly faster delivery than these other places, I get in some scenarios. And then shipping, you do have to pay shipping costs, but if you order order $25 or more, then you get free shipping. And yeah, I don't know. Again, I haven't looked into this all that much. It's really new, and it's currently only available in the US, but and it might be something that they eventually like just get rid of because maybe not enough people are going to end up using it. I don't know. But like I said, it's made to compete with sites like Temu, where you're going to be finding more or less like knockoff products of things that you can already find on Amazon just for cheaper, shipped directly from China and whatnot. So,
to be clear, I fully expect none of this to be actually new stuff. Like, I fully expect you've been able to buy all of these things on Amazon for the whole time. They're just sorting it for you, essentially. Like, hey, here's all the cheap crap that you could find before, but it was just mixed in with legitimate stuff as well. Two things about this that I think are hilarious. First of all, you can only access it via your phone. I just tried on my desktop right now, and if you look at it, it's all like, hey, it's super cool, but it's also a mobile-only experience. Scan this QR code and get started on your phone. So that's a thing. And second, I shop on Temu, and I don't shop on Amazon anymore because, believe it or not, listener, I apparently, I guess I dislike sites like Temu and AliExpress less than I dislike Jeff Bezos. So
that's fair. That is fair.
That's where I land. That's my moral stance on this. But, and here's the thing about places like Temu and AliExpress. The prices are cheap, partially because, yes, what you're buying is an unbranded knockoff version of something. Almost none of these products are original products that are like new. That being said, some of them are incredibly original versions of products that definitely already exist. Like if you want just really wacky and strange Bluetooth speakers, oh gosh, man, can I tell you, AliExpress is the place to be. But yeah, yes, partially it's because these products are all unbranded knockoffs of other products. But partially it's because they're being sold basically directly from the factory in China.
Yeah.
There is no middleman. Whereas Amazon is the definition of a middleman. Amazon doesn't make anything. They just sell stuff made in factories in China, and half the sellers are just drop shipping you stuff from AliExpress. But in order to make a profit, they have to tack a fee onto it. And so you're still not going to be able to get anything cheaper on Amazon than you could on Temu. The big difference is it just gets there a lot faster. So, yeah, I don't know. Good luck, Amazon. I don't really think they're going to be stealing a whole bunch of business here, but I'm, like I said, apparently not too torn up about that, given that I'd rather shop on these crazy, silly, ridiculous, bizarre, strange sites like Temu than I would buy anything from Jeff Bezos. So.
Yeah,
there you go.
I used to do all of my shopping on eBay for that particular reason, just because I just don't like Jeff Bezos. But after about the 5th or 6th time I bought something on eBay and received a package from Amazon in the mail, I was like, wait.
What?
So like I paid a couple of dollars more to get it on eBay, but apparently those couple of dollars more was just paying the eBay seller's fee for an Amazon seller who then shipped it to me from Amazon. And I was like, are you kidding me? Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Anyways.
Jeez. All right. We'll go ahead and we'll move on. We got some gaming news going on now. So Blizzard, they celebrated 30 years of Warcraft. 30 freaking years.
Yeah, that's fine.
One of the things that they did a lot of things for celebration, but one of the bigger things that they did was actually release remasters of the original Warcraft and Warcraft 2. This is also bundled with an updated version of Warcraft 3, but we'll just kind of talk about this real fast. So basically what they did is they went in and remastered them. So with the 2D art style, they updated the UI, the UX improvements, tooltips, health bars, mission screens, all sorts of stuff. One thing that's really interesting that you can do is there is a button to where you can actually hit real fast. It says old graphics and new graphics. And it's pretty fun to see the differences. But total nostalgia trip. If this is something, obviously, if you've been around for the 30 years that this came out, very big nostalgia trip for lots of us. Definitely me. I actually started around Warcraft 2, StarCraft area with these games. Then, of course, the original Diablo. But no, yeah, playing Warcraft 2 again, I was just like, wow, all the nostalgia I had. So if you wanted to get these, there is a also, well, let's go ahead and talk about 3. They actually, so Warcraft 3 Reforged actually was a remaster, an update they did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But they actually went out and did a 2.0 for this.
Oh, good. Because the first one kind of sucked.
Yeah. So this basically just introduces more UI improvements, new lighting system, granular controls for graphics, all sorts of updates for Warcraft 3. They went ahead and made a remastered battle chest bundle, because Warcraft used to do that. You'd get a battle chest for their games. Yep. And it is $39.99 for these remasters. Now, if you just want to buy them individually, there's $9.99 for the, $9.99 and $14.99 for the other ones. But if you already own Warcraft 3 and you want to buy the battle chest, it will actually discount the amount of Warcraft 3 is, so you can actually...
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So if you wanted to get the other two, you can. So I actually looked, so that's how I know, because I have Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
So I looked, I was like, oh, okay, it's going to discount it. So kind of fun. I wanted to mention that. There's other things that they did, like in-game stuff for Hearthstone, in-game stuff for all the games to celebrate Warcraft, which you can see. But these I thought was kind of interesting. So
yeah,
wanted to mention it. All right. Next thing I was going to mention, we're going to talk about Mr. Phil Spencer. Apparently he went to Bloomberg and discussed a few things. To be honest, nothing really. Like, okay, so I'm going to hit these really quick, these points. The first thing they talked about was a handheld. Yep, they want to make a handheld.
Like, yeah, but no specific plans to share.
Yep. No specific plans, no specific things.
Yeah, it seems like a thing that would be good. Might be interested.
Yep.
Thanks, Phil. Okay.
Yeah. The comment for maybe getting an Xbox Series X Pro was, we're not going to change the market with a $1,000 console.
Okay. I mean, that's probably true.
There. So there you go. They did mention, they asked about the Xbox mobile store that was supposed to be here in July. All in a nutshell, they're just waiting for regulators.
That tracks.
That's literally that's what they're waiting for, just to see what happens with the to force Apple and Google to open up their mobile platforms. So that's pretty much what that's for.
Yep.
He did mention that we are going to be seeing more ports of Xbox games to other platforms. We saw that, right? Like, as soon as they bought Activision and stuff, we saw that they're going to be like,
yeah,
it'd be silly for them to not do that. I don't know. That's weird to me that people still think.
It was kind of funny how many people were clutching their pearls over Microsoft going to, oh no, they're going to make all these Activision Blizzard games exclusives to Xbox. And literally the opposite has happened. Not only have they not made any Activision Blizzard games exclusive to Xbox, but they've just been making a whole bunch of Xbox games cross-platform. It's just well, guess you were wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. I don't know. I just think it's silly that people still have to ask him about that. Maybe it's the bigger hitters, I guess, say like Halo, Gears of War, and Forza. But I kind of feel I'm like, I understand the whole no, these were tried and true, but I don't know if they could throw a Halo over in PlayStation, because they're 65 million consoles sold.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's fair to say that if there ever really was a console war, Microsoft lost it.
Yeah.
Nintendo has managed to make their case as, hey, we're your secondary console, and they're happy living there. And PlayStation won in terms of getting hardware into people's living rooms. But that being said, I do think that Xbox has got a pretty darn good case to be made for, yeah, but we've got games on every console. And I think that they want to push that more. And the next logical step is we're going to start taking all these big exclusives that we used to have and start pushing them onto PlayStation. And Sony is not going to appreciate that, I expect. But
Probably not.
what are they going to do? You know?
I think they're just changing the game, the business they want to be in. So
Yeah.
They make a lot more money off selling games than they do selling hardware.
I mean, that's true, actually. The PS5 Pro is it's an expensive console, but it's literally impossible to build a new PC for that price that performs that well. So
if this keeps...
Dang.
Here's another thing. Like, if this keeps Xbox going and I get to keep all the games I've ever purchased, I'm down. Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose my library. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Valid.
I-
Valid.
Okay. I mean, someone that was with Groove and lost all my stuff with their Groove music service and, you know, other things that I've lost. Like, okay, if this is how it's got to happen and I can keep my deal.
This is why all of my game purchases over about the past decade have been from GOG.com.
Yep.
Like, I've even stopped buying stuff on Steam.
Wes, I do have to bring up the fact that part of the reason that all of these services that you've used in the past, there is a common factor with a lot of these services that you have used that have gone away, and that is Microsoft.
Yeah. It's
So,
true. No, you're not wrong.
I thought you were going to say it was Wes.
I was too. I was like, is this another dig on me? Because, man, you're taking a minute to say it's your fault.
It's like, Wes, the reason that all of these keep dying is you, man. Like, it's
no
just
wonder.
you.
No wonder they blocked me on my IP. Oh, this
This
guy
is
just
all-
won't stop.
All I can say, Wes, is please don't buy a Mac. I really don't want
no,
them to kill the
please.
Mac.
Please don't. I'll just stay where I'm at, right? Oh, that's funny. No, I don't know. I guess if you think about it, I enjoy the idea of, hey, I just want my stuff here. Like, oh, I can get a music service. I can get my games. Like, okay, deal. That's what I like. But
Yeah. No, this is the issue, you know? Like, yes, we're making fun of you because it seems like Microsoft are the ones that keep killing stuff. But if Apple had killed iTunes, how much music would I lose if that happened? And like, on the one hand, I have a slight advantage because like all music bought from digital storefronts was mandated by law to be DRM free a few years back. And
Yeah.
so as long as I have downloads of all of those tunes, I still have them somewhere, you know? But, you know, if Movies Anywhere were to go belly up and Apple were to crap out, then I would, you know, I'd lose all these digital movies that I've purchased. And, you know, if Steam were to die, I have like 300 plus games in Steam, the vast majority of which I have not played, that I would lose as a result of that. And it's a legitimate concern. It's a big problem in this day and age where this content that we have purchased, we didn't really purchase it. We paid for a license to view it.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. It's doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great.
No, it doesn't.
And this is, you know, I don't know. We've got a whole segment in the podcast now about this.
We do.
It's a whole thing. But this is why I like, you know, stuff like, GOG.com. All the games they sell you are DRM free and you can download them. And as long as, I guess they do have a couple of games that have online requirements for like anti-cheat and stuff like that, some newer games. But as long as it's not something like that, you can download it, stick it on a hard drive, and it's yours forever. And the Internet Archive, like doing the Lord's work out there, actually trying to maintain some kind of a record of the digital history that we have as a species, because holy crap, are the companies that are selling us stuff not bothered with that at all. They just could not care less.
Yes. So, well, I'm sure we'll talk about more of that many, many times.
Oh, yeah.
All right. The next thing that he did talk about, they asked if they're looking to acquire more studios. He just kind of left it open. He was just like, well, yeah, we're always looking for a right opportunity. But he did kind of hit like, but probably nowhere near as big as Activision again.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, okay, fair.
He's got a little bit of PTSD about that. It's just like,
who wouldn't?
I mean, yeah. I don't think governments would let them buy another company that size.
That's probably true.
Right. So that's kind of what really, in a nutshell, is going on. You know, I went through some. First, I started watching it, and just how things were said, I was like, oh, okay. Like, he's very good. He's very good at just word salads. No, I'm not saying that as a bad thing, but he's definitely can.
It's manager speak.
Manage
to say so many words to say so little words. Like, it's just
try to make you feel good about it.
I you know, I always come back to this, and it is just one of these things that demonstrates to me that there were a lot of people that out there in the world that have read science fiction books who took exactly the wrong message away from all of them. But in the book Foundation by Isaac Asimov, story that was written back in the freaking 70s, you know, like, it's old. There's a politician from a large, prosperous government world that is just like it's bureaucracy incarnate, who comes to visit a planet that is full of scholars, right? You know, scientists and scholars. And he is assigned a person to follow him around for like a week-long visit, just to monitor everything he says, to see if they can figure out what's the point of this government official coming to our planet and spending this time here, because we don't know why they would want to do it. And the guy follows him around, and at the end of this whole thing, the scholars ask him, like, okay, so what was it? What was the purpose? What was his point? Why did he come? And he's all like, listen, I've listened to every single word he said while he was here, and the only thing of substance that he said was hello and goodbye. And I'm just like, that feels like every politician, CEO, like movie producer, executive type person that I have heard say anything for the past 20 years is just, hey, okay, see ya. That's it. So good times. It's an acquired skill, and they all have it. And oh boy,
say a lot of stuff that doesn't say anything. Yep. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. It's the season of nostalgia, apparently.
Yeah, so this is a thing that happened, listener. Warcraft was getting a whole like celebration and everything like that for, the history of the franchise and the good old days and all that stuff. And at the same time, Blizzard was all like, oh, right, Overwatch. That's a game we make. Let's just re-release the original one. So Overwatch 2 has an event going on currently called Overwatch Classic, which is just Overwatch 1 at launch with the same heroes, the same map pool, the same 6v6 gameplay. They, for a little while, I don't think they're still doing it, they were even letting you do the no limits game mode, like as it originally launched in the multiplayer, where you could 6-stack Hanzos out the gate and just, go for it, Like, that was the thing you could do. And so many stupid but really, really enjoyable games that I had that way, and there's nothing says I'm just here to have fun quite like 6-stacking version 1 Symmetras all out of the gate and just like running to defend Temple of Anubis and just spamming that archway with turrets.
Yep.
And anybody who steps through immediately melts. There's easy ways to defeat that as the attacking team. It's not a viable strategy, really, but it's so gosh darn fun.
When you can get someone to just walk through. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you always get like one or two people that just like, yeah, and they sprint through, they immediately get melted, and then the rest of the team goes, all right, this is one of those games. So Overwatch at launch, I thoroughly enjoyed that game. It was a really great game for a very broad audience, which is not what Overwatch 2 is. Overwatch 2 is a very competitive game made for people who want to be competitive gamers. And that's not me. I literally cannot engage with the game. It just doesn't make sense. But they're not the only ones doing this. So Apex Legends also has announced a limited time event called Launch Royale, which is just going to be Apex Legends at launch. Just the exact same thing. Yep. They're just going to have a game mode that is exactly the launch version of Apex Legends. So this is all following on to an event that Fortnite did back in June called Fortnite Reloaded, which was just the original launch version of the Battle Royale mode in Fortnite. So that was a limited time event they did in June. Rumor has it that was so successful for them that they're thinking of making that a permanent mode. So Overwatch Classic, Apex Legends Launch Royale, and Fortnite Reloaded do seem to suggest that these companies are struggling to figure out how to maintain, let alone grow, their player base. So they're like, let's see. We were really popular when we launched. Maybe that's because just the game was better when we launched. Let's just do that. Let's just release the game as it was at launch. And to be clear, I can't speak for Apex Legends or Fortnite. I do think that Fortnite getting rid of the building stuff over the years since it launched was probably a great move for the funness of the game, because I freaking hated the building mechanics in that game. That was so obnoxious. Like you'd be shooting someone and they'd turn into a 12-story building. It was just the dumbest thing ever.
It was.
I hated that so much. But in terms of Overwatch, I will note that Overwatch at launch felt special. Yes, because the game was fun. Yes, because it was chaotic and broadly entertaining, and just like it was a really easy game to have a good time in. But also because you'd play 4 or 5 games and you'd get a loot box. You'd open up that loot box, you'd get a skin, you'd get a spray, get a couple of voice lines, play 4 or 5 more games, here's another loot box, here's another skin. Most of the skins were just recolors of the default skin, right? Like they're not fancy, but occasionally you'd open up one that had a gold skin in it and you'd be like, oh, holy crap, this is great. Versus now, Overwatch 2, if you're not willing to shell out any money for the battle pass or just buying skins outright, I don't think it's possible to get skins for your characters in the game.
Nope.
Like you have to pay money to do that. And you don't get the new characters if you don't pay money. You don't get squat. The game doesn't reward you at all. So I don't know if that's what happened with Fortnite and Apex Legends over time, but I can confidently say that Overwatch Classic is not going to solve the fundamental issues of Overwatch 2 for all of the people who played Overwatch when it launched. I would get in there, I would play 5 games, I would have a great time, and then I would realize I'm not getting anything. The game isn't giving anything back to me in response to my playing and spending time with it. There's no sense of progression at all. So it's good fun for 5 games, 10 games maybe. And then at that point I'm like, okay, I'm good. That's signing out forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. They're all trying it though. So we'll see. We'll see if this turns any dials, but it just kind of cracks me up that Overwatch and Apex Legends both launched these like basically the same time. At the same time, Fortnite is over here like, yeah, maybe we should just make that a permanent mode.
Yeah. It'll be interesting what they do with those, but hey, did you know instead of playing Fortnite Reloaded?
Yes. So yeah, just talking about how we were, hey, you should play games that you can actually own instead of games that are just a license to some content that you can lose at any time. Fortnite, Overwatch, and Apex are really great examples of games, not only just individual games, but an entire genre of games that it's kind of impossible for you as a player to actually own.
Mm-hmm.
Live service titles like this, like they revolve around a massively multiplayer online player base and constant updates. That's the entire game. So because other than that, these are just shooters, right? Like if you just want a shooter like that has classes in it, like Overwatch, there's a couple of options for that. You can get game modes like that in like Quake and Unreal Tournament and stuff like that.
True.
So from like way back in the day.
I played those games.
Exactly. One of my favorites, Star Trek Elite Force. It's basically just a reskin of Quake, I think. I think it was the Quake engine. Might have been the Unreal engine. I don't know. I think it was Quake. But they, they've got the same basic multiplayer in it. And yeah, you could totally... I wonder if they're still... Back when I played it, it was long after the game had come out. There were still German servers running, but no other servers. So I could play multiplayer, but I was playing with a bunch of Germans. It was a weird time in my life. Anyways, if that's all you're really looking for is a shooter you can play multiplayer in, then I guess there are those. But there's something different about Fortnite. I feel like Fortnite attracts a different group of people. And so, if you are at all interested or tempted by the concept of Fortnite Reloaded, thinking that's going to drag you back in, instead of wasting your time, frankly, on something like that, you could instead try, like, if you were really looking for something that will let you build stuff that is deliberately obnoxious, because that's what Fortnite Reloaded represents, is the ability to construct a building for maximum annoyance to the people around you. Then may I recommend Roller Coaster Tycoon Deluxe on GOG. It's currently on sale for $1.19. So great price. And if you've never played any of the Roller Coaster Tycoon games, ostensibly the point of the game is to make a profitable theme park by having a combination of rides that are entertaining to your guests and amenities that your guests appreciate, so that they'll pay a significant amount of money in order to be in there. And, it's planning, it's budget balancing and stuff like that. But actually what the game is just turn on the infinite money mode and build the largest roller coaster you can to try and launch your guests into the stratosphere. Like, that's the whole point, is how can you kill these people in the quickest way possible on any of these rides. So that's Roller Coaster Tycoon. Like I said, if you want to build stuff that's deliberately obnoxious, Roller Coaster Tycoon has got you covered. The other aspect of Fortnite is just wanton chaos and destruction, right? Like, it's just, it's not even necessarily about skillfully killing the other players. It's just destroy, just cause chaos, be insane. That's the point. And if that's what you're looking for, then Worms United on GOG is currently on sale for 89 cents. So for $2, guys, you can get both of these games. And I don't know how much $2 will get you in Fortnite, but I'll bet you money it's not 2 entire games that you can own and like download and play anywhere, anytime. No DRM, no restrictions. They can't take it away from you. I don't know. Just a thought.
Very good. Very good thoughts there. All right. GOG announces preservation program.
Yes. So speaking of GOG, who, I do a lot, they have announced a preservation program specifically. Interesting thing about GOG, which originally, it's called GOG because it stood for Good Old Games, right? It was goodoldgames.com, and they sold old games, right? That were no longer being sold or hosted anywhere else. They would get the rights to distribute them and sell them. And that was cool. It was a great concept, DRM free, whatever. is a neat thing to have on the internet. And then they started hosting newer games, and they're owned by CD Projekt, who are the owners of CD Projekt Red, and so they started being the primary distribution source for CD Projekt Red games and stuff like that. So yeah, you could buy Cyberpunk 2077 at launch on GOG, and so they kind of dropped the good old games thing, just called it GOG, because it was still old games, but it was also a bunch of new games and stuff like that. So okay. The old games that they had on there were always like, hey, here's the game in the last format it was sold in, and you can buy it. And most of these work on Windows. You might have to change some compatibility settings for the executable or something like that, but this is kind of what you get. Now, with their preservation program, what they're saying is that they're going to dedicate their own internal resources to making updates to the game to validate that they run on current OSs. And if they need to make changes in order to keep them running on future OSs, then they'll do that. And so that's just a little bit more of a commitment to say, hey, we've got a bunch of old games in our library here. We're going to commit to, if they're in the library, then they will work on a modern Windows-based PC. That's what they're committing to, is specifically Windows-based. I have gone through and looked at a couple that originally also had Mac support, and so far it looks like they're validating that as well when they do the test. But so they're just committing to Windows, but it does look like that at least they're validating against the other operating systems that they may support.
That's cool.
This is just kind of a nice thing that they're doing. It's got, I think the program has like 150 games in it currently, and they're going to be expanding that number over time. All the games that it applies to are going to get a good old game stamp on the store page. You'll be able to check that out. And I will say, we were talking about Blizzard remastering Warcraft 1 and 2. I own Warcraft 1 and 2 on GOG, not through Blizzard. And I am not going to get those remasters through that, unfortunately. What I am going to get is, a commitment that they will work on every future version of Windows. So
that's cool.
It's not a bad thing.
Even Windows 11.
Even Windows 11. Which makes me sad. But actually, this is one that I did check. They were released on Mac back in the day, and it looks like they are validating them running on Mac still. So I'm okay.
Awesome. Man, good stuff. Well, looks like that's going to be the end of our episode, unless, Landon, do you have one more thing?
Oh, yeah. Now, listener, this isn't my typical one more thing. This is not gaming related. At least not yet. It might eventually one day be, but
maybe.
This is more of a general tech thing. But I put it in the one more thing area because it's really interesting, and it's kind of it's something you would expect to see at CES in January. But listener, in case you aren't aware, it's November. It's not January. CES did not move to an earlier date. It is still going to be in January, at least as far as we know. If it still happens, which I'm sure it will, because it still needs to exist in some way, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, I'm sure this will be there, but LG, the company behind some great display technology, they've made rollable displays. They were one of the first with foldable displays. They now have a stretchable display. And it looks pretty cool. The little pictures and videos I've seen of it. Basically what they have a working prototype of is a display that can go from 12 inches to 18 inches just by pulling it with your hands. And that's pretty cool. And they do say it has the ability to be stretched 10,000 times without any degradation to the display, which is also pretty cool. And they're saying that as it is, with those 10,000 stretches, you could theoretically put this on like clothing type products, like t-shirt or a jacket or something that it is going to get stretched in some way, shape, or form. Some, not as much as some things. Like, you don't want to just go there and be like, look at my screen. You don't want to do that because then it's going to break really fast. But I do think it's pretty cool. Again, this is very new technology. This is not something that's going to be on any products shipping anytime soon. But I just love that LG is still doing cool things like this in the display world, because unfortunately they're not doing cool things like this in the phone market anymore, because they were one of those companies that had really interesting phones.
Yeah.
I still want to get one of those LG. What was it? The Flip?
The
was
Wing.
It the LG? The Wing was a cool. Was that the one
The
that had
Wing.
the flipped
That
up into
rotated,
the T?
yeah.
Yeah, I still
I want the Wing.
I've been tempted to go to eBay just to try and find one, just so I can have one, but I haven't yet. Maybe sometime in the future. But yeah, LG is coming out with this stretchable display. It's really cool. You ought to go find a picture of it or a video, because, like I said, it's pretty impressive what they're doing over there.
My question is, how long is it before we get Amazon selling a jacket that has a display on it that you can, like, you can display cool stuff and change the design on your jacket and that kind of thing, but also there's a cheaper version of it that periodically shows ads?
I mean, as soon as it is available to purchase from LG and to put into products, Amazon will have that.
Yeah. Yep.
Honestly, the first thing I thought of when I saw this, like when they mentioned putting it into clothes and stuff like that, I thought of like sports, because obviously, like, it's going to have to be somewhat sweat resistant in that regard, which they could probably do. But I could see something like this being put into sport, like professional sports gear that athletes are wearing. Because, I mean, you already see advertisements on sports uniforms. Like NBA has little things on the sleeve. Soccer,
so they can like rotate through the ads.
That's what I'm saying. Like, now it's not going to be one of those type of jerseys that you can purchase as a consumer. This is just going to be like game worn type jerseys. Again, I don't know if this will ever happen. That's just the first thing that came to my mind was advertising inside of sports, because that's already huge, and the ability to rotate between advertising would be. I mean, I would not put it past owners to try to get that implemented into.
Absolutely
uniforms.
not. No, that's 100% a thing that will happen. It's kind of depressing. I feel like that we've gotten to the point as a society where this cool new technology, which is genuinely pretty dang impressive. Like, can you imagine a folding phone with this thing? It would be so easy to make it not have a crease, Just have it slightly under tension when it's open, and we've got foldable phones with no creases on the display. That's super cool. I want this technology to exist. But then at the first place that our mind goes with it is all like, oh, some idiot executive will have seen Ghost in the Shell and gone, oh, yeah, this horrible dystopia that these people live in this show, that's what I want. And they'll design a piece of clothing that displays ads, and oh man.
Or this is another one. Apple is going to take this technology and put it on the Vision Pro, so you have your eyes in the front, but then it on the headband that is stretchable, it's going to have a display showing your hair through it, so it looks like you don't have something on.
Oh, that would be the dumbest thing ever, and I would not put it past them at all.
Yeah.
Don't wish that voodoo on there. Okay, that's
such a terrible idea. I hate it, and I hate that it's out there in the world now. Like, sorry. How dare you?
Frick. All right. Well, what a good one more thing. All right, listener, if you want to get a hold of us or have any questions or want us to talk about something, you can get a hold of us on our social media platforms, as well as callingallplatforms.com. You can check out any of the sweet videos that have been made over on YouTube at our YouTube channel, and may sometime, I don't know, I'm surprised to have a new one up. We're not going to promise anything.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in the new year. Who knows?
Who knows?
Could happen.
Could happen. All right, dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.